Hi everyone, welcome to Wise, Witty and Weird. So this is just a brief video I have of our illustrious leader, namely Mr. Scott Morrison, who has indicated on many occasions that he doesn't have a sense of empathy. And I was watching Question Time today, and there was a question asked of him from the Labor Party about an issue in relation to a constituent of this particular member's electorate who had a child that needed some attention because of her condition and in relation to the virus, and her place was given up to a student. And clearly it is unjust and unfair that someone who's got some medical conditions should be put further away down the queue because of a student. It was quite a simple question, really. The basis of the question was, why aren't there more vaccinations for everybody? But the interesting thing about it was the degree to which Scomo was out of touch, how he didn't acknowledge in any great way the person that had these issues and had raised them to her MP, and that he completely dismissed all of that and went into some raving crappy shit about what a wonderful job they've done at rolling it all out. So I'll just play the video and you can make up your own mind.
The member for Paterson.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Simone from my electorate has to drive the youngest of her 5 children to Westmead Hospital, Sydney, 3 times a week for dialysis. She had her vaccine appointment cancelled and redirected to a Sydney student. My office had to intervene to restore her appointment because Simone feared that she may infect the immunosuppressed children she regularly comes into contact with. Isn't it the Prime Minister's fault that he failed to order enough vaccine when it counted?
The time has concluded. The Prime Minister has the call.
Now, just have a look at how empathetic Scomo is in addressing the particular issue, which was really about a kid that had that needed this treatment on a weekly basis, and how that person to get the vaccine was probably more important than a student. However, he doesn't even come close to addressing that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member for her question. I'm very pleased that the vaccination was able to be delivered, and like all members of this place, Mr. Speaker, who deal with the urgent requests of their constituents, we are very pleased that the Health Minister and the various other ministries and portfolios where members need that support or assistance to support their constituents. Members around this place know that that is provided, Mr. Speaker, and always should be, particularly when it comes to the health needs of those in our community. Now, I don't accept the assertion that was put forward by the member. As I explained in relation to my answer to the last question, Mr. Speaker, there were no doses redirected from GPs.
He didn't even have to go there. He could have just acknowledged that this was an error, whatever. He didn't have to blame anybody. He could have just said, hey, look, I understand that the error was made. If it was corrected, then that's fine. But it was sad that it had to happen in the first place. We apologise for that and move on. But oh no, he has to go further with this and start to justify every little thing that they do.
Or pharmacists or any of the primary care networks from the regional areas as a result of the government's national vaccination program. As the member would be aware, the New South Wales government had made a decision about redirecting from state clinics, and our government, Mr. Speaker, has taken notice to rephase supplies, which means that those doses are going straight back into those regions. Like in the member's electorate, Mr. Speaker, the state government had made a decision to reallocate those doses. That was against the advice of our government, Mr. Speaker. We continued to provide that support, and
So there's no way in the world Scomo's going to accept responsibility. So he lays the total responsibility amongst the New South Wales government. Her question really was, why wasn't there enough vaccines available for everybody? But he doesn't take responsibility for anything. He's just that sort of a dude. And we've got to accept the fact that he doesn't see any avenue whatsoever to say, I'm sorry, it shouldn't have happened, whatever. And he's an absolute disgrace. And I think the sooner most of us wake up to the fact this man should not be Prime Minister. In fact, no one on that side of politics, I have trouble with the other side as well, but no one should be in a position of power and authority if they don't actually care about the individuals and stop having to justify everything they do, so that in an effort I'm trying to think of the word, to not or fail to take responsibility for their stuff-ups. They make them. They need to acknowledge them. It was sad that this happened to this woman's kids, and that at the end of the day, he should just say, look, I'm sorry, that was unfortunate. Hopefully we've corrected that issue. Let this person contact me directly, and I'll do what I can to ensure that in the future, whatever services these people need, they'll get. No, everything is an excuse, and we shunt it on to another state, which is what he's really good at doing.
And thank those members who raised those issues with the Health Minister and I, and that we're able to ensure that that was redressed and that we're able to get those doses back into the regions, Mr Speaker. And I would have thought that the opposition would welcome that. I would have thought the opposition would welcome that, Mr Speaker. But once again, Mr Speaker, this Leader of the Labor Party, full of negativity,
just the Prime Minister,
all opposition, no substance.
Just before I go to the next question, when questions don't mention the Leader of the Opposition, it's not an invitation for the Prime Minister at the end of his answer to make a political statement. I've made that point a number of times now. Go to
I left that bit in that Smith did at the end because I think it was really interesting that he dressed the Prime Minister down because he went on this tangent of having a shot at Albo. And it was unnecessary because that had nothing to do with the question in the first place. So the thing that annoys me most about politicians is their failure to be able to answer the simplest of questions, and to stop making, everything's got to be a political point. Everything's got to be a justification for something that they've done. There is nothing wrong with saying in a certain circumstance, such as the one that was raised here, we stuffed up, we shouldn't have, and I want to address that issue. If it's still current, let's do something about it. But rather than that, they go on the attack. I think some of these guys have to get out of their short pants and start to find ways to grow up. I really do. These politicians give me the shits. And why can't it? And you see it right across society, not just politicians, but that I've had to think about this for years, this thing that people need to take responsibility for their behaviour. If their behaviour and the decisions that they make as politicians in particular harm somebody else, then at least be man enough, big enough, grown up enough to take responsibility. I say man enough because most of them are men, but to have a human side to yourself, to be empathetic every now and again, doesn't hurt. And the thing about Scomo that drives me crazy is supposed to be this Christian that has, because you're a Christian, you have a certain set of values, like hell you do. You're just like everybody else. And, if you behave like the scum of the earth, then I don't see anything to do with anything that relates to Christian values. So, there we have it. Another episode where Scomo is expressing no empathy whatsoever. So, and if a politician isn't able to connect with the community and have a sense of what's actually happening to them at an individual level and a community level and a national level, then you probably shouldn't be a politician. You should be something else, like looking after a chief executive of a major organisation that can justify why they don't give a crap. But you're in community service. You're a public servant. You're a servant to us, so you're expected to have a different standard, but they never do. It's a shame. Thanks everybody for watching. I just want to remind you to subscribe to our channel and to ring the bell if you wouldn't mind, and so that you can receive further notifications. Thanks everybody. Take care, look after yourself and be safe.